Not too bad. Welcome to the Palestinian bookshelf.
Yes, okay. أهلا وسهلا to our podcast about the Palestinian bookshelf الرف الفلسطيني.
Yes, Araf al-Filastini, correct?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, that's
Great.
right.
All right. So we've got a new book.
The Shepherd's Granddaughter.
Good, The Shepherd's Granddaughter.
Yes.
It's written by Anne Laurel Carter in 2008.
Yes.
So, initial reaction? We've read the first chapter, only the first chapter. What happens?
Yeah, we still do not have the complete impression about this.
So Amani, she goes to the hill with her granddad on the top of the mountain or something like this, on a mountain. I think it's a mountain, like a small mountain top.
Yeah, it's a mountain, and they went to the cliff there, and her grandfather asked her to look after the bath because of the wolf that can come and eat some of the sheep, I guess. So she went there and she started to be careful of that path until they lost one of the lamb, a yearling pregnant one.
Yeah. And then the lamb gives birth. And that was it. Nothing else happened. But
at the end of the chapter, like when she fell down because of the nasty.
Yeah, I think it's the name of one of the lambs or the sheep. It is called Nasty.
Yeah, I was. I wanted to ask you about that. Okay, and the Nasty made her fly in the sky because he hit her and she fell down. She broke. I don't know. She was hurt. The first chapter doesn't give you the whole story, so there is more to talk about and to read in the coming chapters, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It starts with the first day Amani grazed sheep on her grandfather's mountaintop was nearly her last. So I think you're right. We're probably going to expect something's going to happen to Amani.
That is why it is the last for her.
Yeah, why was it nearly the last for her? So yeah, it's interesting that I can hear myself.
Really?
Yeah. The voice in my head.
Why is that?
I think it's anyway. Ignore that echo. Yeah. So, what do you think about the first chapter? What's your reaction to the first chapter?
Okay. The first chapter for me is full of emotions, and I felt like Amani felt while the lamb was delivering the baby. I don't know, but how that she describes the whole process was emotional, and it's for me my first time to read something about this with all these details. I don't know, but I think the whole chapter is talking about her dream about to be a shepherd like her grandfather Sido.
Yeah, in the first chapter on the first page, we're told that Amani's family have been shepherds for over 1,000 years, and it's something which made me think about Palestinians in terms of, and you can tell me what you think about this, whether traditionally Palestinians were shepherd people. Is that correct?
Yeah, most of the Palestinians in our homeland, like in the West Bank, we are in Gaza now. In the West Bank, most of the Palestinian people used to graze sheep.
So what's the word for like shepherd in Arabic? What is the word for this?
Shepherd means the person who look after the sheep. In Arabic we call it راعي.
راعي.
يرعى الأغنام.
Say that again.
راعي. عي
Okay,
بالدعية.
راعي. It's also interesting that
Yes.
I think there is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that every single Nabi was a shepherd. At some point in their life, they
Yeah.
was a shepherd. And Palestine is the land of the prophets.
Yes,
Past.
and you know what, like, being a shepherd, it teaches like the person how to be patient and how to like to make the whole folk go to the right way. I think that this is the same message of prophets.
It's quite interesting as well. You think about shepherds have to be patient, and i.e., it's the lesson that the prophets learn is to be patient, and the fact that the Palestinians have such a great patience as a nation.
Yeah.
You have such great patience. So I find these little things quite interesting and quite amazing in terms of how the whole situation and how it's linked to everything. I mean, even like the work people used to traditionally do, how it's linked to the qualities that you have now as a people under the conditions that you live under. One of the things I noticed in here was in the first chapter anyway, there's not really many references to what's happening in terms of on the Palestinian Palestinian land. So there is one mention, I think, of occupation. Sido mentions Sido. Is it Sido? Sido or Sido?
Sido.
I've never heard this name before. Is that a traditional name?
It's not common. No, it's not common.
Okay.
We have like Sayyid.
Sayyid, like the
we
leader.
have this name, but yeah, the leader. But Sido, it's kind of new for me. It's not common.
Okay. But in one,
maybe it's an old one. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly could be old. But he mentions how, or she mentions, Amani mentions something about the wolves. That are there any wolves here? And when he's talking about the wolves, he mentions the occupation, and I thought that was quite interesting. That the idea of what the wolf does to a sheep, to the innocent, and the mention of occupation as well at that time. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I like that description here.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. There were quite a few Arabic words that he's using, or she's using in the text.
Yeah.
Which is good, I think. There's a few that I'm going to ask you what the translation is. What specifically?
Okay, yes. Let's do.
Okay, so let's start with and my pronunciation.
لا سمح الله.
Yeah, that was one of the phrases. I did think, what does that mean? I've not heard that phrase before.
لا سمح الله means like Allah would not allow this to happen. Like.
So say again.
You know that,
so when you say something and then you say, like you're wishing God won't let it happen, or you're saying God wouldn't let it happen.
You wish Allah not to make this happen, because it's like for you it's a bad thing. So you say لا سمح الله. Like if you like in these days we have coronavirus, you know, like
yes.
if I was لا سمح الله, that's it. It's a bad thing, and you don't want it to happen, so you said لا سمح الله.
Yeah, I got the meaning kind of from the context. It's they're wishing something, but I'd never heard the phrase before. So it's that was one of the phrases. The other was the author uses a word to describe what the men wear on their head. Begins with like
kufiya.
Yeah, kufiya.
Yes, kufiya. Some wear it on the head, some wear it on the shoulders. You know kufiya. Did you see it before?
Yeah, you're talking about the trend, the black and white traditional, made in Hebron.
Yes.
I think Al Khalil.
Yeah. It's a main part of our traditions, Al Kufiya, and some women wear it like a scarf on the head.
Yeah, it's a sign of Palestine. Really, it's become a symbol of Palestine or Palestinian resistance, I think.
I have one.
I have one as well. At one point, they were selling this style of scarf in H&M. What happened was there was suddenly this campaign by certain groups of people who said H&M was being politically biased towards the Palestinians. But it was quite interesting. It was quite popular. And even like people, it's associated with resisting occupation. So yeah. Any other words? There was a few others that I know, or I think I know the meaning of. Ruh, like
Okay.
when she says Ruh, go away, get away, go.
Yeah, go away. Yeah.
Um,
We have Ahlan.
yeah, hello,
I think you know
welcome,
it.
yeah.
Hello. Yes.
But you were
No,
gonna
that's it.
share
I
something
think.
about a certain you were looking for.
Okay. I unfortunately I found it like in the second chapter.
Oh, you read ahead.
Yeah,
You weren't
like
supposed to do that.
no, you know, like the first chapter ends. The first chapter ends when Amani was flying. You know, like I have curiosity what happened next, so I turned the page and I went on reading to know what happened to her. I know that it's not allowed, but come on, forget about it.
Okay. Khiyanat. Is that Arabic?
No, no,
I'm joking.
no, it's cheating. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. But yeah, we'll save that for the next one. But there was one part I liked. I liked the part where the grandfather's looking down from the mountain, and
Uh-huh.
he hears the adhan, and then he says that the land, it looks like a prayer mat. Now, in my growing up, prayer mat, we called it a masalla. That's traditionally what we used. But a lot of people in Palestine, they always
لا مصلية مصلية
insaliya. There's another word I've heard like insaliya.
مصلية.
We say
We use it to
musalla. I
pray.
say musalla,
Yeah.
but
Musalla is here in Gaza. Musalla is the place where you pray.
okay, yeah, musalla, yeah, I've heard that
Musalla.
used like that. Anyway, back to that. What was I saying? Yeah, there's part where he's mentioning he's looking over. He's on the mountaintop and he's looking down, and he describes how the field they look
The
like
fields.
musalliya. And then he says something interesting. He says to his granddaughter, "Prepare your heart, like sweep
Yeah,
out the anger."
because they had the azan. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he says, "Sweep out the anger." For me, I was thinking in this chapter, there's not really any reference to the Palestinian struggle at the moment. In the first chapter, you don't really see anything about occupation, but it's there in the background.
Yeah.
And I think it's written from the perspective of Amani because when he talks about clean your anger, the response is, what was there to be angry about? Because as a child, she doesn't probably understand what's happening around her.
She's still a kid.
You're
Yeah.
too much of a kid, so.
She's still
But it's also
young to hold grudge or anger.
yeah, or even understand what the anger is, and the fact that he also says to clean the heart of anger, like kind of to get the anger out, is like a coping mechanism. Because what do you do with that frustration, innit? And so yeah, I just thought it was interesting the way she has written this first chapter. There's little signs of things in the background, but we wouldn't know what it is until we read further. I think it's gonna be. I do think it's gonna be an interesting book. I think this is gonna be an interesting book.
Yeah.
And I will let you into a little secret. I know it's gonna be an interesting book because when I was looking at the book, I did a little bit of research. When this book was released in America, some schools were using it to teach. So they're using it on syllabus. And there was a campaign to get it removed off the syllabus.
Yeah. That was the thing I'm gonna ask you about because I, like, when I look up about the name of the book on Google, many sites said that. Why was this book removed? And a lot of people, I don't know, but was against this book.
So
Is that going to be clear in the next chapters?
I don't know. I don't think they're going to tell us in the book why it got removed, but I think we know why it got removed because it discusses the Palestinian issue. Anything that discusses the Palestinian issue or shows the occupation in a negative light, or well, I wouldn't say negative light, I would say in its true form, or kind of any book which tries to describe the Palestinian struggle as a justified struggle, or which kind of depicts the occupation, what happens is when it comes into the sphere, public sphere, there's always a effort made by certain groups to try to get this book removed, because what it's doing, it's exposing the truth.
But let me ask you about something here. Some sites, not all of them, but some, I found some reviews of people who read the book before, and one of them just said like, if the author was presenting the Palestinians as weak people and who should accept the truth and do not fight, do not defend themselves, as if Amani in the novel is weak at the end. I don't know how the book will end, and what is the end of this book, but as if she in the end like surrendered. I don't know, like give up.
But the thing is, you have to remember, like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the book. We're going to find out as we're reading it. But what you have to remember is that, you know, people sometimes say to me that some things are not political, or I have come to the conclusion when it comes to Palestine, every single thing has become political. Any action, whether it's meant to be or whether it's not meant to be. So this author writing this book, when people see this book out there or read this book, it becomes political. So I forgot what I was going to say. Astaghfirullah. But my point was that my point was that why those people, you know, when you read those comments, when people write those comments on books, one of the things I will say, the occupation and the occupation, what you call the PR, the occupation PR, you know, the one, the kind of the news, the media, online, all this, there is a very powerful effort being made to challenge anything that describes the occupation in a negative way. Anything that kind of highlights the suffering of the Palestinians, there's an effort made to kind of challenge it. Yeah. Even if it's a book review.
Yes, anything
even
support.
A book review.
Yeah.
I mean, to that extent, I believe that. And I think maybe some people believe it. I think some people do it because they're doing it to kind of protect the image of the occupation. So if anything,
and you know what, we got used to this kind of policy in Gaza, that they use some sites or some accounts on Facebook to just like spread these bad news, or to spread fear between people with wrong actions and wrong stories, even when they like try to come back to Gaza after 2014, they still use these kind of people. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, I think there is this effort. But you know what? The more and more you think about it, the more it kind of makes me smile, because I just think, look at the length some people will go to hide what is evident. Anybody who looks at this, anybody who looks at it clearly will see
to hide the truth.
You can't hide it. You can't hide it. That's the nobody can hide it.
We still can find it. Yeah. Look how it is. Subhanallah. Like the site is like far away from Gaza, far away from me. And today, because I like opened Google and tried to search about anything about the shepherd's granddaughter, I found this. I got to this site and found this, and now I'm telling you, SubhanAllah, how it is like to know that the truth can't be hidden.
No, it can't be hidden. And so it's quite interesting that every time anybody makes an effort in any form, if it's a movie, if it's a book, if it's a play, if it's a scarf, if it's a fashion item, if it's something, it's always try to minimize. And what I found interesting is that well, not interesting, I think that's the wrong word, but there doesn't seem to be a counter effort. So there is an effort to kind of always give a negative PR or kind of to Palestinians, and to always project and portray the occupation in a positive light. But there doesn't seem to be people doing the opposite. So there is this idea of power, like the powers are not necessarily aligning with Palestinians in terms of media, in terms of websites, in terms of policies, what extra. So it's like there's less support for the Palestinians in terms of letting their voice be heard. And I think that's why this podcast and similar things to this are important, because what they will do is they'll allow us to kind of share these things. And that's what we're hoping anyway. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And that's why I know that this book is going to have something definitely good to offer us in terms of discussion and in terms of the Palestinian experience. Because if it had that response from the occupation, then that means there is some reflection of the Palestinian struggle in this book. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why I know this book is good.
So.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the next chapter. Any other comments?
Inshallah. No, I found a quotation about the walls.
Oh yes, please do.
Like there are no walls. Okay. There are no walls left in this house. Before your father was born, the villagers feared and killed them, and since 1967, it's been the occupation driving them off the land. So here she talks clearly about occupation since 1967.
Yeah,
in Arabic we call it al-udwan al-thulathi.
Al-Udwan al-Thalathi?
Yeah, that happened in 1967. Yeah, when the occupation like
legalized the kind of its status. Israel kind of established established itself after the 1967 war. Yeah.
Yeah, started so.
But you know that quote? You know that quote that you just read? Can you read the next line after that?
Okay. He stared at her in an odd way, most of them anyway.
Yeah. So in the previous in the first part, he talks about the wolves. There's no wolves left in these hills. And then he says the occupation is driving them away. But then when he says this next part, most of them anyway. So is he talking about the occupation forces, or most of them drive the wolves away, or is he talking about the wolves? That the occupation is so bad that even the wolves disappearing. That's how I kind of interpreted it. The occupation is so bad that even the wolves are not safe. That's how I'm seeing it. But
so what did he mean here?
I don't know, because he says most of them.
I felt
them. What's them?
I felt like if I'm going to think like him, because he's a Palestinian one, I'm a Palestinian as well. So most of them, I may mean the occupation here.
Yeah,
that one day will can be derived out of our land. Maybe.
No, but he's referring
So.
to. He says, and since 1967, it's been the occupation driving them off the land. Okay, so he's saying the occupation is taking the wolves off the land, kind of forcing them off the land. The wolves off the land. He's talking about the wolves, that the occupation forces are taking the wolves off the land. Then he goes on to say, most of them anyway. Now, when he says most of them, who is he talking about? Is he talking about the wolves that the occupation forces make most of the wolves disappear? Or is he saying most of the occupation forces are driving the wolves away? Nobody probably cares. If they're listening, they probably don't care. But I was just thinking, it's interesting that he's using wolves and occupation together. But what you just said is interesting as well, and I didn't think that the way the occupation forces are driving the wolves away off the land, it's the way the occupation forces are driving the Palestinians away off the land.
Other people, yes.
So it's interesting in that respect as well. I was thinking, which area do you think this is set? Because it's got to be a hilly area, because of the mountaintop.
It's the West Bank. Most of the cities in the West Bank are on hills. But I think this I may read that. Read it
in chapter 2.
Can I start and talking like you? Okay, blah blah blah.
Sorry, did you just say
maybe?
Sorry.
Yes.
Did you just say you may have read it in chapter 2, where the book is set?
I don't know exactly where, but I think this is in Hebron, Al Khalil.
In Al Khalil. Oh, it makes it even better if it's Al Khalil, the city of Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Yeah,
Ibrahim
yes.
There
is Al Ibrahimi mosque.
Yeah.
If this is not in chapter 1, it will absolutely in chapter 2. Okay, but let's stop here. Like, let me add something. When he said like most of them, anyway, if he meant here most of them about the wolves, and you say that we can consider somehow the wolves as the Palestinian people, when he said most of them, it means like there is a few left, that not all the Palestinians can be driven out of their land.
Yeah, it could be that as well.
Does this make sense?
Yep. My only problem would be that would be like, I wouldn't want to compare Palestinians to wolves, but that's just a personal thing. But yeah, I think that's true. It could be that that most of them, not all of them, not all the Palestinians will be driven out. And I think that's even in a hadith, that there will always be a group of people. They will always be trying to defend Al-Aqsa and this area. And
هم في رباط إلى يوم الدين.
Yeah, until death, Qiyamah. So they will not be able to do that. So could be as well. Could be it could be that. So yeah.
That all the time there will be something left in this Holy Land. Like, Palestinians will defend always and forever.
That's it. Great people. I think the best people, I personally think. So we're gonna. Shall we stop there for today?
Okay, I think this is the most important thing about chapter 1, and let some for the others, and then I'm sure that there will be more to talk about in the next chapter.
Lots more to talk about, I think.
Yes, and we are waiting for the surprises in the next chapter, and what and how will she relate this to the Palestinian case?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see that, inshallah. So thank you very much. I will speak to you soon, Islam.
Thank you, Adil. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, thank you. Wa alaikum.